And here we are again. Broken laptop, can't edit, no mic, trusting the process. You guys seem to like this. I've only gotten 6 or 7. Jesus Christ. Fine. I've only gotten 6 or 7 videos that have gotten over 10,000 views. And of those 7, I'll say, one of them was one where I didn't edit at all. So I listened to you guys. I'm seeing what's working. And what's working is not my love life. I was discussing this with a few friends a couple weeks ago, and I was kind of ranting a little bit, being like, yeah, I just don't see myself getting seriously, romantically, or even sexually involved with anyone while I still live here in Florida, while I'm still residing in the red state. Because if I'm not in a very liberal leftist area, me as a gender queer, trans femme, but non-binary, but still kind of masked, still kind of femme androgynous individual. I don't speak to a lot of demographics. Like I am not in the realm of attraction that most people feel. On top of that, as an Asian person, the people who are attracted to me kind of are attracted to me in a weird way, right? Where chances are if we swipe right on each other, I hop into their car and I see a bunch of K-pop idols on their dashboard. And I'm just not here for that. I don't want to be someone's role play, lit erotica, AO3 fanfic that they get to live out in real life. I want to be Quinn, who happens to be Asian and also happens to be genderqueer. And there was a moment in my brain that I did not vocalize aloud where I was like, oh shit, I kind of sound like an incel because I'm complaining about these aspects of my personhood that prevent me from being sexually active. Like I am involuntarily celibate due to factors outside of my control, due to just my identity. And it felt weird initially. Uh, but there's lots of ground that the word incel covers because the word incel wasn't created with the current political ideology associated with the word in mind at the time of its inception. When the word incel was created, it was truer to the form of its parental acronym, as in just the term involuntarily celibate. It was a term created by someone who had all genders and creeds and races in mind. And now it has been co-opted by this 4chan crazy, right wing festering cis pool of junk, and I wish I could edit, but that's the take. And it it took me a moment to realize, okay, no, me having that thought, me acknowledging that I do genuinely have difficulty with finding people in my romantic pool due to my surroundings and due to people's perception of me is not the same as me being an incel and hating women. But there's this thing I've been thinking about lately as I like to think I'm becoming more leftist of the phenomenon of right wing arguments against liberal policies simply being leftist arguments that are not thought out to their full conclusion. And to use just this as an example, like you when you think of the prototypical incel who rages against women for having a very stereotypical mainstream concept of what women are attracted to. And you can even take this in parcel with chads and manosphere podcasters. They are under the impression that women like big, strong, burly men who provide and make 6 figures and do everything for them, yada this, yada that. That's patriarchy. Like both the incels and the alt right dudes are mad at this desire that most women don't actually have, but that like some do have, and because they have been like propagandized into having that desire, of the like prototypical alpha male. Some become misogynistic and lean into the alpha male bit. Some become misogynistic and lean against the alpha male bit. But that hatred is misdirected because they are mad at a thing that exists. The concept of like having the pressure to be a prototypical man, or having the um, bitterness of feeling the need to compete against prototypical men, for, like just the general like stereotype you see in movies of the nerdy guy who's like, oh well, like she's not going to like me anyway. She's gonna like Brad because he's like big and has muscles and has a sports car, you know, like ticks off a checklist. But they're upset at the people who are um, being pressured into feeling that attraction, as opposed to the men who made those qualities desirable in the first place. And I am also mad at that. I am also upset with patriarchal ideals of attractiveness because I realized a while ago that I don't want to fit the masculine role of that. I don't want to be like big and brawny and like uh, be alpha male, super masculine, super aggressive, very domineering. That doesn't appeal to me. Um, Even like throughout my teen years, I knew that that wasn't what I was going to be. It took a little bit more time for me to separate that further and to like actually like internalize that. But you know, I realized that. And then early on in my transition, I then had to battle with the idea of not wanting to be the stereotypical patriarchal ideal of what femininity should be. That I don't need to be like completely smooth all the time, wearing mini skirts, fishnets, yada yada yada, like all done up in makeup. Like the more I've progressed in my transition, the less feminine I've become because I've become comfortable in both my masculinity and femininity, and don't feel the need to exhibit a mode of femininity that is deemed as the right amount of feminine because patriarchy has said that women are this, this, and this. And understanding that there are certain trans women who are like, oh, in order to pass and be seen as a true trans woman, you have to try, which is crazy. You have to pass, and coming to a point where I can accept myself and like myself and like be really confident in just the way I present, and then realizing that despite like my own internal happiness, that I will have trouble finding people who are mutually attracted to me and that I feel safe around and that I feel respect my identity. I don't remember how I started the sentence, but I ended by saying it was a difficult realization. Like, I've said this before, uh, but if I had less self respect, I could get laid more often. But I respect myself enough to understand that my comfort and safety and identity in the eyes of the person beholding me are more important to me than like getting a nut off. I also, and I'll reiterate this because I've also said this before, I don't think I like sex as much as people are trying to convince me I like sex. Like, my whole experiment with treating everyone more non-binary has made me realize that I was viewing a lot of people as sexual objects when I shouldn't have been, and that I was kind of seeking the like validation of external forces. And then once I let go of that, I could then let go of my desire to have sex without, because I'm not actually horny. I just crave validation. And then that leaves me at a point where I'm like, okay, fine. I like have decided that I don't need this thing that everyone wants, but like fuck, it still kind of sucks that no one wants me, you know? Like Like, I don't want to get catcalled, but like, damn, like, really? I went 6 months and like no man shouted something rude at me out in the street. Like, am I chopped? You know? And it sucks because like I am upset. You know, I am like a little bit upset that like how do I phrase this without sounding like an incel? But like people don't want to fuck me, man, and it's because of the way like. But because we are stuck in like patriarchal, heteronormative views of attractiveness, and because even people who are interested in more like feminine, emotionally open men might be attracted to me but won't see me as non-binary. It's frustrating, you know. Is this a short one? Is that all I really have to say? Give like truly, if you've made it this far, 11 minutes in, sit and pause with me real quick. I wish I could edit. Hold on. I wish I could say I'm trying to think of something right now. All I could feel was the pressure. Entertain yourself. Like play a thumb war with yourself while I like marinate. I think there is this aspect that I've been like tumbling around in my brain where yes, laws laws don't dictate morality. I think people assume they do because certain laws pass and then like life gets better for certain groups of people to an extent. But I think laws don't make people better people. They just shift the Overton window and they normalize, but they don't like change morality, right? And I'll circle this back around. In general, there is no one law that we can pass where it would be like, oh, abortions are legal and also like contraceptives and um, products for periods are free and widely available, and a woman is someone who decides that she is a woman and that's kind of the only classification, and we don't have an executive order saying that there are only two genders, and we recognize intersex and trans people, and women can and people who could get pregnant have a respectable amount of paid vacation, maternity or paternity leave. There is no one law that can be passed that could be more effective than simply removing the highly photoshopped and sexualized images of women that you could readily find at any CVS, Publix, Wawa, Walmart, Target checkout aisle. Because as a young kid, my perception of women was not like shifted by their right to vote, by their ability to have no fault divorce, to have their own bank accounts. My perception of women was shaped by the ready availability of the way that like they were perceived. In a similar manner, even if laws get better for trans and non-binary and gender non-conforming people, and it's going to take a while, the social perception of non-binary, trans, gender non-conforming people, intersex people, is going to take a longer time to catch up. Like, the number of people, the being being a trans femme attracted to women is difficult because I have to be aware that I am reading as masculine to a lot of them, and as such, that means I am reading as possibly a threat. In order to counteract that threat, I then have to kind of desexualize myself to make women feel safer around me, which is important. Like I would rather go the rest of my life never having sex again than making someone feel unsafe around me. If it's like a good reason to feel unsafe around me, I would say. Um, and in doing that desexualization, there then becomes that phenomenon of, hey, trans femmes are not your gay best friend, you know? And then I have to like, I think I do read as like a gay man to a lot of women who don't like know me and my uh, nature, and then I want to then fight that, even though even though it's like a level, you know, because that's just not what I am. But then to fight that, I then have to like establish that attraction to them is still, but like potentially attraction to them is still there, right? Like even though I'm not individually attracted to you, you thought I couldn't possibly be. Now I'm introducing the fact to you that like no, you're under the umbrella, and then I've seen like the shift in attitude in women, where it's then like, oh, like I thought you were one thing, and then I'm realizing you're another in like more demographics than one. And obviously, like to do this is to just weed out people who aren't respecting my identity, which is a good thing. But like, fuck, man, it gets lonely, you know. And there's this um, thing that like as a straight person or as a cis person that I used to be able to experience. That's kind of innate of the principle of attractiveness that you kind of take for granted, where it's like, oh, even if I'm not trying to like fuck all these people, I can at least understand that like a number of people might be attracted to me, you know? Um, and even though I might not act on it, it's nice to have that validation. And then a lot of that disappears when you're gender nonconforming, and you feel like really isolated. Like all of these walls start to pop up, where you kind of realize like how many layers there are to like attraction and gender and like allyship and like the way people perceive you, and the way that that affects their like body language and stance around you, and so I become bitter because I'm like, to to have that like intangible thing that I took for granted for so long means I have to lie about like who I am, and I don't like doing that because I'd rather be truthful to myself. But in doing that and being truthful to myself, I feel more disconnected and lonelier, and like, yeah, it doesn't feel good to say that, you know. I think that's the thing. I think that's what I hate about this is like there's not a great way to complain about this thing without sounding like an incel, right? I think that's what I'm circling back to is I'm having a difficult time talking about this because I just sound really bitter that I'm like, oh, no one's attracted to me, or like no one's attracted to me in a way that makes me feel safe, or like no one's attracted to me in a way that like makes me feel seen or like non-objectified or like not an object of someone's fetish. And I think like obviously the advice everyone goes to is like, oh, find queer people, you know, like explore the queer community. I live in the red state. It's hard. And also, I think it's also like, I think a lot of people in the queer community are kind of tired of people using the queer community as a dating pool. I like being able to connect with people, and I cherish the queer people around me so much that the idea of like potentially fucking it up by trying to force something romantic like makes me so anxious. And then not only am I losing a potential romantic partner if it goes south, I'm also losing like maybe a potential friend, an ally, like a fellow like person in arms against like the trials of the world, a person who could just understand like the proper gender dynamics that I've got swirling around in my head. Like I am looking for a lot when it comes to like when it comes to companionship and like social needs. I like require a lot right now. And the idea of trying to be like of like shouting out into the void being like, I need someone to love me, and the void shouting back, find someone queer, and me being like, I'm already trying to do that friendship like platonically. Calm down, void. So yeah. Tell me your thoughts. Thank you again to my patrons. Like, comment, subscribe because in the future I'll be able to edit again, ideally next month. And it would be nice to get started on the Are You Too Old to Transition video, which I filmed the interviews for like months ago. I should get on that. But thank you. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Have a good one. Oh no, this is gonna be so awkward. Oh no.